Hey guys, how's it going? And thanks for coming. I'm Nick and this is Real Life Money, where we talk about real life and money because you know schools aren't. Don't forget to subscribe for more videos. So let's get started. So I was really planning on releasing another video that I previously recorded for you guys, but since everyone's talking about it, I've been talking about it. Definitely big news in the markets, of course. So that's why today we are going over why I'm buying Facebook stock. So there are a bunch of videos out there talking about this. Everyone's talking about it on Wall Street and everything like that. Just because the huge crash, is this an opportunity? Is this beginning of a lower crash? Who knows? So that's why I'm putting my perspective into it. I don't want to overlap too much. I don't want to be repetitious. So I'm going to keep it short and sweet to the point, just like me. So if you're an investor and been living under a rock for the past week, Facebook stock kind of crashed, dropped. It did bad. So their earnings came out, and that day they dropped almost pushing 20%. At this point, this is a couple days after right now. It is July 30th, almost into the new month, and it's actually down more than 20% since its peak last week. So I listened to the conference call, and basically the main reason why this is happening is because the guidance of the company's revenue is expected to decrease. The growth of Facebook's revenue was like 40%, massive growth, which is why so many people were in it. A lot of growth investors loved Facebook. And it's a great company because it has tons of cash and no debt, like, whatsoever. So it is a great company run by Mark Zuckerberg. We'll talk about him in a couple seconds. But that's the main reason. Their growth for their revenue used to be 40%. It's being expected to drop to like under 20%, pushing high teens. I think people were talking about like around 18%. The main reason for this, if you guys remember a few months ago, the Cambridge Analytica thing going on, that Mark Zuckerberg had to go to the courts and testify and all that stuff. They are investing more toward privacy and security just to keep their users safe. And that's a great thing, obviously, since so many of us are involved with not only Facebook, but they own tons of, maybe not tons, but a lot of other things. They got Facebook, they got Instagram, they have WhatsApp, they have Messenger, they also have Oculus, that VR type of stuff. They have a bunch of things going on, and they're not like small things. They have billions of users. However, that might be a good thing. Investing wise and getting money back wise is not a good thing, because when you're investing in privacy and security, you're not getting a return from that because you're just making it safer. It's not like someone's giving you money to increase your security. So that's why their revenue is decreasing, and they kind of kept going on over and over about possible international like currency problems or currency exchange and how that's going to affect the revenue drop. Now that type of factor, in my opinion, I don't see it cutting revenues in half. So I think it's a combination of both of those, of course other things as well. So the main thing, guys, is obviously Facebook was priced to perfection. It had the growth behind it. The stock was shooting up, especially since the Cambridge Analytica. It was down, and once that passed, it just zoomed higher. It was like around 150, 160 range. Then it zoomed past 200 fairly quickly in a few months. So does it make sense for the stock to drop this much? Now, it does make sense for the stock to drop because that revenue expectation, and by the way, they're expecting revenue to continue to decline for the next couple quarters. So maybe into like the next year or so. So in the near term, it's not looking so hot. So that's why I think this situation kind of separates if you are a short-term thinker or investor from a long-term thinker or investor. Because yes, their growth is slowing down. It's not these massive numbers anymore. So those growth investors are getting out of it. They're looking in other places. However, if you just look normally, even with, let's say, like high teens, I think they expect like 18%, even an 18% revenue growth is still pretty good, and that's only for like the next couple quarters. What about after that? If you're a long-term thinker, like what about a year or two and past that? Obviously, a lot of people are talking about their ad prices and ad revenues since, of course, if you guys know Gary Vaynerchuk, he's kind of the man, and he's been pushing this forever. But to advertise on Facebook is dirt cheap compared to any other sources out there, like TV. If people still use newspaper, radio ads, which is ridiculous because everyone's on social media. So people are going to start flocking to there, so that revenue is going to increase over time. I think eventually Instagram is growing tremendously. I think they just hit like the 1 billion user mark, and I feel like there's going to be more users in Instagram than Facebook eventually. They also have WhatsApp, a messaging app. But I thought it was an interesting question on the conference call or earnings call. Someone asked what are some growing opportunities that they're not technically focusing on right now. And a couple of them were WhatsApp. They have the messaging app. They're not even like, they didn't even touch that going into like possibly ads or anything revolving around making money from that. So that is huge potential. And of course they have Oculus VR. I feel like that is definitely the future. And the fact that it's going into news and people are like regular news, not even like stock market news. I'm talking like, oh, the weather's next, that type of news. They're like talking about Facebook stock down $120 billion in a day, which is what happened. But then I heard people were talking about they want Mark Zuckerberg to step down as CEO. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's technically doing what he said with Cambridge Analytica. He's going to start investing in safety and security for the users. And unfortunately, that's going to limit its growth in the near term. So two things, I'm pretty sure Mark Zuckerberg's staying CEO. And for the next thing, the fact that it's just in the news, I think that makes it like a lot more fear out there. So I think that makes it even interesting to buy. I remember the correction earlier this year in February when it was in regular news, like normal people, like non-investors were learning about like the stock market was getting crashed or slammed. And when that's happening, when it's in the news, I feel like that's like on a whole different level of fear. And that's probably a good entry point. So getting into my opinion, looking at a couple of charts. If we look back to the Cambridge Analytica thing going down a few months ago. Yes, it did get slammed. It was around maybe 150, 160 area. Just because stuff was going down. But then guess what? They pushed through it. Just like a lot of things. They pushed through it and it rallied. Can Facebook stock drop lower? Anything is possible, by the way. That's just how it is. Can it drop further in the short term? Absolutely. However, if we look back to the Cambridge Analytica thing going on, when the stock was at that level, it quickly rebounded afterwards. So, like I said before, why I'm buying it, I did personally buy it today. It is July 30th. So I got in like just under the $170 level. I actually called my brother during my lunch break to go on my computer and set up a trade. By the way, I did have another video of my brother on previous video. If you want to check that one out, that was, oh, it was interesting. So I got in under the 170 level. Just because, like we were saying back then, once it rallies, it's gone. Like that opportunity is left. Those low levels, you can't get in anymore. So that's why I got in personally right now. If it goes down lower, especially like maybe next quarter and a few months from now, it could go lower than now. That's another opportunity to continue building your position. So I wouldn't suggest like throwing all your money into Facebook, of course, do your research first why you would want to invest in Facebook, and if you agree with all these things, it's really up to you. And the fact that it dropped so quickly, so fast, I'm pretty sure these low levels aren't going to stick around very long. So that's why I wanted to get in fairly quickly, just in case it goes back up. Now, I wanted to put this out there because of this possible short-term opportunity. Could only stay these low levels so long. So I had to push my other video out until probably in a couple days or so. That I'm going to be talking about recession proofing, crash proofing your portfolio. Because a lot of people are talking about possible crash. Facebook kind of just crashed. Were you ready for it? So that's why I definitely wanted to talk about that next. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave them down below. I love to hear what you guys have to say on this one. Do you like Facebook? Do you hate Facebook? Would you sell it now? Would you buy it now? Let me know what you guys think. So don't forget to subscribe, by the way. I do have an Instagram account for some bonus content. And thank you so much for watching, guys. And I'll see you in the next one.